foods for the gut.
Okay.
Foods for the gut. We're gonna talk first about, what's our first one? Phil Phails for you.
Fiber. At least I think it was the first one. It will be our first one.
We're making whatever we say the first. Yeah, so fiber is, what is fiber? Doesn't everything have fiber?
No, everything doesn't have fiber. So yeah, I mean, fiber, you've got soluble fiber, insoluble fiber. So basically like whether it absorbs water or not and whether it creates bulk. So well, in theory, they both create bulk, but we need them both. And we don't need to go like super deep into soluble versus insoluble, but like generally speaking, we're creating bulk in the intestine. So I think most people think of fiber as what makes you regular, right? Which it's true. And I will say through the years, I would say most of my clients are like, yeah, that's it. That's what fiber, that's why we need fiber.
To be regular.
To be regular. To create bulk.
And when you say be regular, you mean to poop every day.
Correct.
To move things through your digestive system.
Correct. And also, again, well, I'll be mindful of this too, but even like what that looks like, like in terms of its, formation and whether that,
what your poop looks like, y'all. Hey, if you can't handle this discussion, go back and read the children's book, Everybody Poops. Start from there. And then when you've digested that, come back to this conversation, because this is an adult conversation and everybody poops.
Everybody poops. So the amount of fiber, is important for that flow and that formation correctly.
Okay.
So we needed that. But I think one of the things that people don't know about fiber, so we have and this goes a little more into your gut. So we have our intestines. They're made of cells, and those cells are semi-permeable. So we want semi-permeable. So we want things flowing in and out of our intestines, and but only the things that we want flowing in and out of them. So our gut has protections to help protect the inside from the outside. One of those things are like how close the cells are together, like tight cell junctions. And these are kind of tied together. But another is we have this mucosal layer that goes around our intestine. Its job is to protect. And so we want to protect bigger molecules from coming in and out. So like I said, we want healthy bacteria in there, but we don't want pathogens and viruses and parasites and worms and all these things. So this mucosal layer helps protect against that. And what makes that mucosal layer thick and healthy?
Fiber.
So generally speaking, I think most people need 25 to 30 grams of fiber a day. 25
to 30 grams of fiber. What are good sources of fiber?
Generally speaking, you think fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds. That said, there are some that are more fibrous than others. For instance, if I have people having trouble getting enough fiber, like chia seeds. Like chia seeds are like the golden fiber.
Really?
That you just like get a really big bang for your buck. A lot of berries have fiber, but I mean, it's kind of bizarre, like which ones are higher in fiber or not. But whole grains are a good one. But that doesn't work for everybody. Some people are gluten-free, and so like you have to kind of figure out where that lies. But that doesn't mean and sometimes there's certain vegetables that you're like, like ate a lot of vegetables, and you're like, oh, okay, it was only like 3 grams of fiber. But I will say, for 25 grams, if you get around 5 grams, in a meal and a few grams in a snack, like you can get there. It's when people aren't getting any nuts and seeds or whole grains or fruits or vegetables, and it's just, like meats and bread products that maybe aren't whole, then we can miss that.
Yeah. Okay. Fiber's number one. An aside question about fiber is, how are these carnivore diet people getting fiber?
I think a lot of them aren't.
They're not.
Yeah. And so, I know a lot of people have great success with carnivore diet in terms of how they feel, in terms of, gut health. Well, here's another interesting thing about fiber and gut health. if your gut is imbalanced, and of course that could mean a lot of things. So let's just say microbiome's imbalanced, or you have a parasite and overgrowth, or bacteria overgrowth, or whatever. There's lots of things that can create imbalance. Often when it's imbalanced, then people can actually tolerate fiber less, when it actually is also what they need. And maybe not all they need, right? There might be other things, again, depending on where the imbalance comes from. But so sometimes people do feel better without fiber, but that doesn't mean that their body doesn't need that, and it wouldn't benefit them. So we'll say that. And I think also you have to be creative sometimes if you are on a more strict diet, like keto or carnivore. That doesn't mean you can't. It just means you need to figure out which high fiber foods fall into your diet.
Right.
And just make sure that you're being really intentional about it, I think is important. Like I said, for that gut protection, I think is really important. Now, you might feel better with less fiber, but then you potentially are also inviting more imbalance into your gut, and or also lowering your immunity. Our gut, they call it a second brain for a lot of reasons, but like you get 80% of your immunity from your gut. So if your gut's imbalanced, you're more likely to be sick and get colds and get viruses. And there's layers to that too. But imbalance of gut often means a low immune system.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think about how we interact with the world, and it's like a part of it is our skin. Like that's a big part big way we interact with the world, or are exposed to whatever. And that tends to be like mosquitoes or bugs or things like that want to get at us. Yeah. But then we also put a lot of stuff into our body. Yeah. It's like a donut, right? We just have this tube, and all the way through that tube is exposed to the outside world too. Sure. It's this membrane. It's much like the skin, but it's on the inside.
Shaking hands and viruses, right? Like we are exposed to, and oxygen. Like there's a lot of transference internally and externally.
Yeah. Yeah. So I never really, sometimes I overlook the value of that like internal,
that motility and process and intestinal process. And
and how that keeps you healthy. When it's healthy, you've got more, what'd you call it? You said 80% of your immunity. Yeah. Yeah. That's what keeps you from getting sick when you're exposed to things.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's when you have that thick and healthy mucosal layer around the intestine, if it's thick and healthy, among other things, you want like good secretory IgA. You want that to be in the right balance too. That's like your immunoglobulins that protect against pathogens and viruses. So anyway, so there's a few different pieces to that. But then when you are exposed, which we are, you're shaking hands with people, or you're getting fruit from the store or whatever. Maybe you forgot to wash the blueberries before you ate them or whatever. So pesticides or whatever, all these things that you're exposed to, the healthier your gut is, and this is so many layers. Healthier your brain is, healthier your gut is, the healthier your brain is, healthier. Anyway, all of those things impact your body's ability to fight off viruses and pathogens and bacteria that we don't need, and parasites and worms. And we don't get a lot of worms in the US, but it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 2. So that's number 1 is fiber. Number 2 and number 3, I get confused a lot, the two, and sometimes they combine them together. So you mentioned prebiotic and probiotic. Yeah. Which one do you want to make number 2? Yeah.
Well, I'll talk about them both. So they can both be number 2.
Okay.
Or however we want to do it. We can do them separately.
2 and 3 are prebiotic and probiotic.
Yeah. So I think of probiotics being bacteria, okay, and being healthy bacteria that we want in our gut. So probiotics are our commensal bacteria. So our healthy bacteria in our gut that we want in our gut. They are important. Most of them feed off of fiber. And so we need fiber to keep enough healthy probiotic in our diet. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can take probiotics, but it's not a direct correlation, meaning like you take lactobacillus and it goes through and suddenly you have more lactobacillus. It doesn't exactly work in that process, but nonetheless, it does still help that it does still help create that balance of healthy bacteria. And so, like I said, that healthy bacteria influences like also how we're absorbing nutrients. It influences diarrhea and constipation, our motility. It can influence skin. It can influence our immunoglobulins and bactericidins. So like basically fighting off pathogens and viruses.
That's the immunity part.
So that is a big piece of that. So that's those probiotics are really healthy for maintaining that balance and fighting things off and keeping the motility and absorbing your nutrients. Prebiotics are the precursors. It's basically the food for them. So I mean, obviously lots of things fall into this, but I often think of like onions and garlic are two of those. So like prebiotics are basically food for probiotics. So they're precursors.
And garlic are the best ones.
Those are just the two most common that I like, jump to my brain.
Onions and garlic.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's prebiotics are the pre to
if you eat the pre, you'll get the pro.
Yes.
Is that what
the pro.
you're saying?
I was trying to get to the pro. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The precursors to the probiotics.
Yeah. Or the food for them. Yeah, absolutely. So that was 2 and or 3. But yeah, so I mean, all basically leading to those healthy bacteria. Yeah.
So the probiotics are the actual bacterias.
They are, yeah. And just, yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't really want to go through that whole process, but basically we need probiotic. They also, yeah, like I said, it's mostly helpful for the healthy bacteria, for the motility, and for like balancing off so that we can fight off the things we don't want in there.
Question that I have when I go to the store and look for probiotics is shelf stable, like the ones that are just on the shelf, room temperature, are those
as good
better
as
than or as good as the ones that are in the refrigerator? Because there's like refrigerator ones, there's shelf stable ones, there's like...
I will say there's a lot of opinions about these, and I don't know that we have a like solid scientific answer behind that. My opinion, that I think a lot of other dietitians I know agree with me is, I don't know that there's necessarily a, like, this is better than that. I think it kind of depends on your own gut and what you need. So because every probiotic isn't the same, not only in quantity, like how
because
much
some of
is
them
in
like
there,
this one has 10 million and this one has like a billion, and you're like, how many do I need?
Right.
It's kind of like an army. Like how many army warriors do I need to send out into that gut? Right.
Well,
like,
it might depend on what your gut looks like, and so this is where I like.
Maybe it's like the Peace Corps. It's probably more like the Peace Corps.
I think it's more like a Peace Corps.
How many peacekeepers do we need to send down there?
Right. But also, it depends on what's going on in there. So, like, depending if somebody's low in something, they might need more of something else, or depending on their motility, they might need more. So there are certain strains that are better for certain things, and that's like an endless list, right?
What does motility mean? You've used that a couple times.
Oh yeah. So basically, how your food is moving through your esophagus and stomach and intestines. Not only the speed of that basically, but how it's moving through.
Okay.
And so obviously that can be slow with like constipation, or it could be really fast with diarrhea, or it could alternate back and forth. But yes, how things are flowing through the system.
So diarrhea and constipation are 2 examples of motility out of balance.
Correct.
Diarrhea is like too fast motility.
Correct.
And constipation is too slow motility. And just like with Buddhism and everything else, the Tao is saying we're looking for the middle path. We're looking for the middle path in our middle path.
Yes, absolutely. Right in the middle. Absolutely.
Okay, so precursor is all these things. We can't necessarily say cold is better than shelf, but...
Well, I mean, I probably, lean toward the cold, but like I said, I don't know that matters, and it also depends on the strain. So it depends on the strain. I think that it depends on what your body needs as to like which strain it needs. Now, maybe you don't necessarily need. Maybe it's like, maybe your body is like mostly balanced, but you're just trying to maintain health. Well, then it may not matter. And so, what I started to say earlier is, I'm kind of the impression if you don't have something specific that like you need this strain for this particular ailment or whatever the case may be, like just taking a probiotic, generally speaking, is good, and in any amount, right?
Yeah.
Like some is better than none. Basically,
Taking some
is better than none. Now, I will say also, if your body's not used to that. So you can also get probiotics through food, right? Through yogurt.
Is this kimchi,
and you can also
yogurt,
get kimchi and sauerkraut and kombucha. You get those
pickles,
prebiotics and probiotics through foods, right? Or you can obviously take something. So, but if you're not getting any through any food and your body's not used to it, and you go buy a random one from the store, and then you're like, oh, my belly's upset. Well, that's really common. Sometimes you have to, I don't know, sit with it for a while, right? Like sometimes your body has to get used to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are also some that are more gentle than others. So if you've never taken one and you don't think you get a lot of through foods, then maybe starting with something that's a little more gentle. And so, there are ones that can be a little more gentle, and sometimes you don't know. And so like, here we go. Let's figure it out.
Yeah, you're on a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
And then for the prebiotics, those are the precursors to these bacteria.
Yeah, and
these
mostly,
are foods.
Yeah, I think of that mostly with getting through food.
What are a couple foods? Onions and garlic, you mentioned?
Onions and garlics, yeah. Well, and then I think a lot of the ones that you're getting, so like kimchi and sauerkraut are going to have both in there too. So you
pre
get
and
both.
pro?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So all the fermented foods are going to have those.
Yeah.
Kombucha, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly on
yogurt.
That. Yeah.
Kimchi, sauerkraut.
Yeah.
Love sauerkraut.
I do too.
What else
And
is
kimchi,
there?
but oh my god, sometimes it can be really strong.
Yeah, kimchi can be strong and spicy.
I
like it though.
I got one the other day that I was like, oh, that's like real fermented.
I think I want to make my own. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too long because we got so much to discuss, but I think I want to make my own sauerkraut.
Yeah.
I got a big mason jar. I now just need to find those little
cool.
burpers, those things that you put on top to let air out but not air in.
Yeah.
Because I watched a couple videos that were like, dude, it's mad cheap to make your own sauerkraut.
It's funny. I've considered making kimchi. I've never considered making sauerkraut, but we could share.
Like kimchi's a lot harder than sauerkraut. You make kimchi, I'll make sauerkraut, and then we'll share. Yeah, I've done kombucha before.
Yeah.
I used to have 2 batches of kombucha going at the same time, and I cycled them through. But once, I think through the seasons of the year, the fermentation time period changed, and I really wanted it to be static.
Yeah.
I wanted to be on this like path, and then eventually it got to where it was really vinegary.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just threw it out but I still have
trial and error.
I still have kombucha SCOBY in my fridge.
Oh.
So at any time we could just whip up some kombucha. All right, so that's 2 and 3 pre and probiotics.
Okay.
4.
What did we choose for 4?
I'll go back and look. I didn't know what this was.
Oh, polyphenols.
Polyphenols.
And it's another food for the gut, and for helping ultimately helping with protections and helping keep your gut balanced. So I think of berries and onions and garlic and cinnamon and turmeric and so I mean there's a long it's funny. I also think about this with like FODMAPs is that I feel like sometimes there's things that like I know what maybe not everybody, but like a low glycemic food makes sense. Ones that are like more sugary or not sugary, right? Like it kind of makes sense. Or I'll just keep it generic, like what a fruit is. I feel like when you get into like FODMAPs and polyphenols, it's all over the place. You're like, okay, we got like a fruit here and a vegetable there and just kind of like some random ones. But it's just some other, some nuts and seeds in there too. Or, there's certain particular foods that help feed and balance those layers and protections in the gut.
What is a polyphenol? It's poly means multiple.
Yeah.
So what the heck is a
anything,
phenol?
I don't know, like phenol. Well, an OL, it typically ends in alcohol. So it has some sort of like...
some alcohol.
I'll have to look that up exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
But it's good for your gut.
It's good for your gut.
These polyphenols, and they come from foods that are like low glycemic index foods. Like I know that strawberry I know that strawberries, berries, all of those.
Yeah, they are
because I'm on keto, and those are the fruits that are
the ones
allowed.
That you can have, right?
Allowed, right? I can have strawberries. I can do,
Yeah, I actually don't think polyphenols are related to low glycemic, but you're right. I think the ones that are in there happen to be low glycemic.
Uh-huh.
And then cinnamon and turmeric and onions and garlic and nuts and seeds. And anyway, so yeah.
Berries. Okay, yeah. Awesome. And number 5 was the thing.
Water.
The thing we all need.
Yes. And I like that one because, again, I'll use the word motility. Obviously, if you're not drinking enough water, then then your motility slows down. And I don't usually think of like doing too much water or speeding it up, but it can speed it up in terms of just urination, right? Like you're going to the bathroom in that regard, but not as much on the GI front. But it's just so important. Our body needs water for all the processes, and that also I would say 90% of my clients are low water drinkers. And it also just impacts how well your body burns fat and absorbs nutrients and, your skin health and how your brain thinks. And so, but specifically, I mostly think of like keeping that motility and keeping things. And part of that too is with constipation. If your waste is sitting in your gut versus being excreted, then your body can reabsorb that waste. And
Not
so,
good.
yeah. So then we're reabsorbing waste, we're reabsorbing hormones and toxins that our body want to get rid of. So,
yeah. I
water.
thought of you. Did you go to like water parks when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Do you go now with your kiddos?
Yes.
Water parks?
Yeah, sometimes.
So like, we got, what's the one down
Like
there?
Schlitterbahn?
Schlitterbahn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought, as you were talking about this, I thought about a slide.
Without enough water.
Either one. Yeah, without enough water, you're like, this hurts my body. My skin is like getting scraped all the way down this thing. Is there another side? Is there too much water?
Yeah, I guess you go super fast down the slide.
Yeah, because if you're like in a tube of water, you like can't breathe.
But
is
if it
there
has
that
an
for
edge,
the
you can
gut?
go over the top. But yeah, I mean, I think more of being overhydrated, meaning, like I said before, like I think it more of impacting your urination. You can also, and this goes like, you'd have to drink it lots and lots and lots, but you can actually flood your brain if you like way over drink
Oh my
water.
God.
Yeah, but I'm like, we don't need to go to
Most people probably don't have to worry about that. They'd have to legit.
Oh, it would be hard. It'd be
I think
really
when I was a
hard.
kid-
So please don't stress about that.
When I was a kid and I was trying to like pass drug tests,
Yeah.
I would be like drinking gallons of water.
Well, and that's actually what I think about sometimes if people, I mean, it's really hard. So don't stress about not drinking too much. I'd rather you drink water.
Yeah.
Don't stress about that. But I do think about more likely with people who are on drugs because they're maybe extra thirsty. And so, and don't have that, conscious awareness of like what is an appropriate amount of water.
Yeah, if you're on drugs, y'all, first we're going to work on not being on drugs. Because I think your water intake might not be the lowest hanging fruit of health, right?
Isn't that the truth? The other thing I think of is like people being hungover, but also I think they're so dehydrated. It's like, again, please don't worry about flooding your brain. But that's
water.
where my brain goes of overhydrating is just like spending all day in the bathroom in that regard. Not usually in terms of diarrhea, because usually your body's going to pee it out, basically.
Yeah. Is there amounts that you like to see for men or women or weight? How do you?
There is, and I will say this is another highly debated topic, and a lot of people have opinions on that. I don't think that there is like only one way, but generally speaking, I think 90 ounces for a woman, and I think more around 120 for a man.
If you disagree with Ashley, put it in the comments.
Yeah.
We want to know.
Yeah.
Let's get the debate started. This is what Ashley believes. But I think what you said was, which probably seems true to me, it depends on you.
It does.
Everybody's different.
And also, like, you could have a 150-pound man, or you're going to have a 250-pound man. Like,
right?
They need different amounts of water.
And how much exercise you're doing
And how
every
much
day.
exercise you're
Are
doing.
you sedentary, or are you running marathons on the daily? Like,
absolutely.
Those two people are going to need more or less water.
Absolutely. And so, like I said, I mean, that's just like generic. I think it's helpful for me just as a dietitian to have a generic starting place for clients of, okay, you're drinking 40 ounces. I want you to work toward 90.
Yeah.
But also, if you're exercising a lot every day, then, and so there's ways to match that. I mean, I think another one that people think about is like an ounce for every pound of body weight is what some people believe. And I think that can be on the high end. Of course, also I have people coming in who are drinking 30 ounces. And so I'm like, okay, let's less coffee, more water.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I think in my research, I found some places where they were like, drink a gallon of water a day.
Yeah. And so I think 128 is, I mean, and that is close to, for a man, a gallon is a pretty good amount for a
A
man.
gallon's 128 ounces?
I think so.
Okay.
Hopefully I'm right.
We'll hear about it if you're not.
Right.
We'll hear about it. Okay, so that's pretty good. Okay, the list is complete.
The first list.
The first list is foods for the gut, and we got fiber, and we learned a lot about fiber, insoluble, soluble, how it impacts your mucosal layer. Yeah, baby. Wrote that one down. 2 and 3 were pre and probiotics. The pro is the healthy bacteria in their state, whatever, and then the pre is precursors to those healthy bacteria. The food for that, which you said onion and garlic. And then 4 was polyphenols, which were foods that helped with polyphenols or gave you polyphenols.
Yeah, they have polyphenols.
They have polyphenols.
Yeah, and so berries and grapes and spinach and nuts and onions and
turmeric and cinnamon. And garlic and onion once again. So you get kind of bang for your buck on 2 of these. You get polyphenols and prebiotics if you do onions and garlic.
Yeah.
Those are good. And then 5 was water.
Help that motility.
We learned about motility, which is the rate of food's movement through your digestive
and
system.
how foods move through it. Yeah.
How they move.
Yeah. Rate and how. Yeah, both of those. Yeah.
That's good. That's our first list.